Welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Loudermilk, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and this is the podcast where we explore all things writing, publishing, and the impact of storytelling. In each episode, I'll share insights and strategies to help you navigate the book journey, whether you're writing, publishing, or already an author. Plus, you'll hear from inspiring authors who are using their book to change lives. And if you're passionate about storytelling and ready to make an impact, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Loudermilk, your host and Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and I'm just going to get this thing started because I have I forgot to record it yesterday. Just totally forgot. Had way too much going on. Today, all kinds of fire drills are going on and everything, and I've got one thing after another, just trying to derail this podcast. So I'm like, you know what? Time out. Everything else can wait. I'm going to record this. It is getting done. So here I am. Today's episode is just with me. Jonathan's a little under the weather, so we were not able to do the episode on launch marketing strategy and post launch marketing. So hopefully we will have that one for you guys next week. So it's just me, but it's a really cool episode on the top 6 habits of successful authors. So in all my time working with multitudes of different authors, I've noticed some habits that culminate into a really well-written book, a successful launch, them successfully leveraging that book for whatever goals they originally had after it has been launched. And so I wanted to share those with you guys so that you can be intentional as you, start to work on your own book. If you've already written one, maybe you can make the second one that you're thinking about writing even more successful than the first by knowing what these habits are, or these characteristics, and being really intentional about them. So the first one is they nail down a solid marketable concept before they write. I cannot tell you how many writers I've seen who had kind of a little bit of a vague or a fluffy concept, or it was just something where it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to write about, but it wasn't something where it was just like, bam, there it is. It's crystal clear. It makes sense in terms of what my long-term goals are for even writing a book in the first place. And I've noticed that with those folks, as they're writing, they tend to sort of question wait, why did I start writing this? Or was this truly what I wanted to write? And it can completely derail the process. And I've seen a lot of people give up halfway through, even people who just had, a chapter or 2 left to write, give up because they did not have a solid marketable concept that was backwards designed. I like to talk about backwards design a lot because in backwards design, you start with the end in mind, and the end is the goal of why you're writing the book in the first place. So that is the first habit of successful authors, is that they're really, really clear on their concept, and their concept fits perfectly into what their goals are. The second one comes right out of that, comes right after you nail down your concept, and that is that they create a solid and detailed outline, and they stick to it. So we call it a chapter map at Smart Publishing. It's more of a robust outline that includes more peripheral details that can help to keep you even more on track. So if you're wanting to know more about that, I have a couple previous episodes that cover off on the chapter mapping process. I also teach it thoroughly in my book, The 1 Hour Author, A Simple Guide to Writing and Publishing on a Busy Schedule. And if you go to smartpublishingservices.com/resources, there's actually a downloadable template for the chapter map on there too, so you can get a hold of one. But when you have an author that creates a solid and detailed outline, it's just like if you're going on a trip. You're getting in the car, you're going on a road trip. You're not just going to drive in a general direction and think that you're going to get there, right? You're going to put the address of where you're going into the GPS, and the GPS is going to give you step-by-step instructions. Drive here for X amount of miles, turn right here, turn left there. That's what your outline needs to be. It needs to be a very well structured 30,000 foot view of your book so that you can make sure that it is cohesive from start to finish and it flows well. And it's really important to stick to it. So I've also seen authors who had a really solid outline, a really great outline, but they didn't pay much attention to it. And so each time they sat down to write or record, they were just kind of winging it. And it wasn't as intentional, and it wasn't coming from a place of structure. It was just coming from a place of, I need to get this done. And I've noticed that some of those folks can do one of two things. Either they just sort of start winging it and doing their own thing. And so even though they had a really nice structure, they start, on in one end and kind of go off and out into left field, and it's not following the structure anymore. So now they don't have a cohesive book from start to finish, and it takes a lot of wrangling to reel that back in. Or they get disillusioned as they're going through it, and they start saying, "Oh, wait a minute, what am I even doing? I feel lost. I don't feel inspired anymore." And it's because they're not treating that outline as gospel. And so that is something that is really, really important. Next, they write or record regularly. At minimum, do it once a week. I notice that authors who write or record any less than once a week, it takes them a really, really long time to finish their book, because it's just like going to the gym. You're not going to be consistent, and it's not going to be a consistent habit if you're not going to the gym at least 2 to 3 times a week, right? And so any consistent habit has to be done in a habitual rhythm. And for writing, I've noticed that that is a minimum of 1 time a week. The best thing that you can do is keep it on the same day at the same time in a predictable schedule. You make the time and you protect the time for it. You make sure that it's a distraction-free time. That way, it's something that you're expecting. It's something that you work into your existing routine and rhythm, and it gets done. So yeah, write or record regularly. It's a muscle. It's something that you have to continue doing to keep up, just like going to the gym. Another one is that they invite collaboration and feedback. Definitely some of the best authors are an absolute pleasure to work with as an editor, because they are not 100% in love with everything that they're doing. They understand that their perspective is only their perspective, and if you're releasing a book, you're releasing a book for other people to read it, not for you to read it. And so just because something makes sense to you, or you think something's a good idea, doesn't mean that it's going to come across that way. And there are people, particularly editors, who can help to make sure that your book speaks properly and clearly to the audience that you're trying to speak to. So that it's really, really important, the role of collaboration and feedback, to make sure that what you're writing lands the way you want it to land, because when you're in the picture frame, you can't see the whole picture. You need someone who's out of that. You can't step out of your own frame of mind, right? So you need other perspectives for that. Number 5 is they integrate their book into who they are and what they do. So, if you're releasing a book where you can't really imagine how you're going to bring it up from time to time and talk about it, then you're going to have a really, really hard time continuing to promote and market that book after launch. I see probably most authors who get really excited, they're talking about it a ton, they launch, and then after launch, It sinks and splashes into the ocean and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, only to never be heard of ever again. So that goes all the way back to that intentional design, right? So if you're thinking about what concept you're going to write about, well, what's something that you're already talking about all the time? If you notice, I bring up my book, The 1 Hour Author, a whole lot on this show because it includes a lot of the things that I talk about all the time. And so it's in the regular flow of who I am and what I do. And so it's something that is really easy for me to promote because it's my best helper. It is something that is half my brain deposited into a book and organized for your benefit. So make sure that you understand long term how your book is going to be integrated into who you are and what you do and how you do it. That way, you won't ever have a problem with continuing to keep that book alive and marketed and promoted long after its release. Finally, number 6, this was going to be a top 5 list, but then I realized there's a really important 6th characteristic or 6th habit of successful authors, and that is that they make things happen. And honestly, this is just a habit of successful people. Successful people aren't focused on problems, they're focused on solutions. They are problem solvers. They're not problem oriented, they're solution oriented. Excuses and things may come up, but they figure out a way around it and they make things happen. And so, yeah, stuff is going to happen here and there. Like I just said, I have had so many things happening today that could have completely derailed this podcast, and I would have had some really great excuses as to why I didn't record it. But guess what? You're listening to it now, which means that I made it happen. I stuck to my commitment today, which was to get this podcast recorded. So I hope you're seeing how that transitions to a book. A book won't get written if you don't actually write it. So if you're recording for audio transcription, it means if stuff is coming up, you still get it done. You find a way. Okay, you couldn't sit in front of Zoom that day because you had to get in the car and drive 30 minutes across town to over here. Okay, put your AirPods in or use your car audio and put a voice memo on and record that way. I actually did that on the way home from the gym yesterday to record the preface for a new book that I've written and just finished. And there have been plenty of times where I wasn't able to work on parts of that book during the day, and so I actually worked on it on my phone at night just before I fell asleep and got work done that way. So successful authors are successful because they find a way to make it happen, whatever it is. If it comes to, getting the outline or the chapter map for their book done, if it comes to getting the writing sessions or the recording sessions done, when it comes to getting enough people on their VIP list to make sure that they have really strong support for hitting bestseller during their launch. These are people who make stuff happen. So that, tying up with a nice bow, is the 6 top habits of successful authors. So just to summarize, number 1, they create or they nail down a solid marketable concept before they write. Number 2, they create a solid, detailed outline and they stick to it. Just as important as having the outline. An outline doesn't matter if you don't stick to it. Number 3, they write or voice record regularly. Remember, minimum is 1 time a week. 4, they invite collaboration and feedback because they understand that their perspective is limited. Collaboration and feedback will make sure that your book lands the way you want it to. 5, they integrate their book into who they are and what they do. And number 6, they make things happen. And that's it. Now I can delete this little set of notes that I put in my phone early this morning when I was thinking about what I was going to record a podcast on today. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Tell somebody that you know about it. Get some, some more folks getting some of this information that will help them write their first book, or if they're writing another book, continue to get tips and ideas on things from writing to publishing that will help them get better and better and better. And I would love it if you would just take 60 seconds to rate and review this show. It gets it out in front of more listeners who could be helped by the content that I publish on this podcast. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook, Renee Loudermilk. I'm the only one in the world, so I'm the only one that will come up. You can also always find me on smartpublishingservices.com. I would love to hear from you. Again, next week, I am really, really hoping to get Jonathan on the show. That did get like utterly derailed today, but that's just because of illness. So hopefully he'll be getting to feel better here real soon. Do me a favor to say a prayer that I don't I don't get whatever it is that's been going through my household. I got what it was last time, and I'm hoping that I dodged the bullet this time. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep writing your story because the world needs your voice. Until next time, take care.